I'm Steve Lerner. I'm from Ramp Rate Sourcing Advisors. So we're here to talk about outsourcing or insourcing CDNs. And obviously the internet has changed dramatically since when I first started doing this in 1996. And video is by far and away the vast bulk of the bandwidth. I remember when it was almost nothing, and we were fighting to make it become something. And so now it's time to maybe take another look at the strategy for all kinds of CDN users and people who make CDNs, which seem to be the ones that are in this room. So we're going to discuss the cases for building your own versus outsourcing. We'll talk about some case studies. We'll talk about the risks. And we'll get some views from a very esteemed panel here. We have Moseri Cabezas from Telefonica, right here, head of CDN services. We have, next is Marcin Pilarski, who is the R&D expert at Orange Labs Polish Telecom. And at the end is Megan Wolford from Rackspace. So I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves first and talk about their role and what they do and what their company does. So we'll start with Moseri.
My name is Marcin Pilarski. I'm representing Polish Telecom. Polish Telecom is part of the Orange Group, which spans a number of European countries and also some of the countries in Africa. Orange Group is operating 20 million fixed homes and something about 150 million of the mobile users. My role basically in the Polish Telecom is building the foundation of the CDN, the one we built and operate commercially since January last year. And I was dealing with the CDN last 5 years, basically building the foundation of them.
Good morning, my name is Megan Wolford. I work for Rackspace Hosting. Rackspace is a company that today serves two primary markets. We have a traditional dedicated server market. People host their servers with us, and we're also in cloud today. So within our cloud division, we have three basic products: Cloud Files, which is an object storage; Cloud Servers, which is just compute; and Cloud Sites, which is sort of an all-in-one website hosting package. What Rackspace is specializing in, though, is connecting the two. So we find a lot of companies who need more dedicated services, more intense management, and people who want to store things for cheap in the cloud. And so my role is I am the product manager for our Cloud Files object storage platform and the CDN that we use to accelerate those objects.
Okay, so CDN is a very complex market with what at least I find to be very inexact language used to describe often the same word describing different things. So to set sort of the baseline for our discussion, I'd like each of the panelists today to talk about how your company offers CDN. What is it that you're selling, right? What is the product suite? What does it do? And what type of clients you have that are using it, and give us a couple success stories, some obviously publicly announceable success stories of who is using it, so we can set the stage to make sure we know exactly what we're talking about when we're discussing CDN. And Megan, why don't you start first?
Sure. So the way that we are using CDN today, on our traditional hybrid side, we are reselling Akamai network services or Akamai technology services. And on the hybrid side, we are also, on the cloud side, we are also a reseller of Akamai. So for Cloud Files, which again is our object delivery platform, customers store their objects in the cloud. So we are solely static content. Customers have the ability to CDN enable that content on a per container or per folder basis and have it served via the Akamai network. So we did make the decision to not build our own CDN, much because we knew that there were partners out there that we could talk to who had the expertise that we didn't. And our customers are loving it today. In fact, about 50% of the customers who are storing their objects in Cloud Files, our object storage network, are delivering via CDN.
Okay, Marcin, go ahead.
I mean, basically, we launched the commercial service in January 2010 in Polish Telecom. It's B2B enterprise class CDN for users in Poland. Basically, since this year, our coverage in terms of the 10 top Polish content providers is more than 50%. Those content providers means portals which sign up the agreement with us. If they're happy, they're using the service. And we treat our internal branches like Orange.pl or the internal parts of the company as like the same like we treat the business customers. But it's more than that. We are the part of the Orange Group, which basically means we would like to interconnect with our other colleagues, with France, with Spain, with Belgium, and the partners in Africa. And that was a topic of the previous session, but I would like to mention that the same topic, which basically covers the issue of how to interconnect those CDNs between different companies, is also is under internal discussion between the companies within the Orange Group.
Okay, go ahead. Pass that mic down.
Yeah.
Telefonica has been in the CDN arena for the last years. This is nothing new, but a point of inflection happened in the last couple of years, as I explained you. We have decided to develop our own solution. People from Telefonica R&D focus on a thing that today we are realizing it is true. I mean, 45% of the traffic in our networks is video, and that is going to grow, not just in the fixed networks, but also in the mobile networks. So we've been working and designing our own CDN that will be focused mainly at the first stage on delivering video throughout the world. This is a global CDN. It will be deployed, and it's already under deployment in all of our countries. And as I explained you before, also in those where we don't have operations through wholesale, with the main objective of bringing video to the end users. Video it's a revolution. It is not just in the essence of entertainment, but it's a new way of people to communicate among each other. So we will make sure that we deliver the best-in-class video CDN solution, so content providers can take their pure asset, their content, to the final users with the best quality of service and the best quality of experience possible. Of course, we will also use it for our own services. We have some video services, we have IPTV, and we will deploy it internally for B2B and self-consumption.
Okay, so let's make sure we have this exactly right. Megan, you are outsourcing CDN, right, to Akamai. Right. Is there any of your own interface in that? Is there a portal that is a Rackspace portal that people see, or is it just a straight Akamai account?
It is a straight Akamai account. People essentially just enable their CDN, and then it's Akamai from there. So we're storing it, and Akamai is delivering it.
Okay, and so Marcin, you have built your own, just to make sure we understand.
I mean, we utilize one of the technology from the vendors.
Okay, so you're getting boxes, and you're using them.
No. I mean, we have the open architecture, which basically means we can store any of the third-party software on it, but it's still the boxes we control. The boxes we fully control.
Right. Okay. And mostly you are building it from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not on our own. Some of the people who are here are partners of Telefonica in this deployment. We deploy hardware of HP, but the software is absolutely Telefonica software.
Okay. Great. So we have all the use cases here for our discussion today. Very, very good. Sure, jump in.
Small question.
So the question is, are you...
Pilot it if you want right away.
Right. The question... Yeah, the question is, we got to repeat the questions first. The question is she speaking about a CDN in future tense or present tense? Is it online now? And the answer is?
Present.
Present tense. It is online now. Okay. So in this era, speaking of the present tense, in the market now, with the realities today and now, who should be using a CDN? Meaning, someone that has to initially need to outsource or insource it, who should be using it, right, in the eyes of the panelists here? What is the best case for using a CDN, and who should not be using CDN at all? And I know it sounds like it's an elementary question, but I think we might have a variety of answers here. Given today, who should be using a CDN? What is the best case? Who should not be? Basically, what is the worst case for using a CDN? And so why shouldn't they be using it? And we'll go back this way. Melissa, go ahead. And put the microphone up, talk into it.
From our point of view, anyone who wants to leverage their service on the top of the internet, but they need quality of service and quality of experience, they need to use a CDN. So I think that some potential clients of CDN, they don't even know which are the huge advantages that they could get out of CDNs in terms of making sure that they can have the same efficiency and reliability and quality that they were delivering and deploying their service through the traditional wall, not the digital wall, but the real traditional wall. I am sure that we could find some clients that could answer that question with a no. But if they want to make money and sustainable business model on the top of this new internet, where the final user are eager to enjoy life, paying, CDN is a guarantee of those new business models. That is our point of view.
Okay, I'm still interested to know who should not be, right?
I cannot think of anyone who would be enjoying internet world without being eager to get quality of service.
Okay.
I mean, almost
okay.
who? If we are talking about e-health, business administration, governments, transport, I don't know, content providers, I could think that almost all the segments in the B2B arena could be open and could see benefits from using CDNs.
Should people's MRI images and X-rays be stored in a CDN cache?
Sorry?
Should people's X-rays, like medical images, should they be stored in a CDN cache, like on a CDN?
I don't know if in a CDN cache or in a cloud from Rackspace and delivered to the point where that X-ray is going to be used. But the benefits of having a high-quality global new CDN network will bring benefit. Maybe those benefits are not seen today, but I'm sure that they will come.
Okay.
Of course.
Marcin, you were shaking your head.
I mean, yeah. Let's go back to the foundation of what the CDN is supposed to be, and what does exactly mean having a CDN. I mean, what's the benefit, technical benefit of the CDNs are? The benefit starts when you have the multiple instances of the same content distributed to your users, to multiple users. The CDN will not deliver you better quality in the one-to-one transaction in terms of for example, even those pictures from the e-commerce, which are basically the transaction between the patient and the doctor. I mean, we're not talking about the CDN in terms of the delivery of the DRMs. We're not talking about in terms of the CDN delivery of my bank account transactions, because they are the one-to-one transactions. We're talking when the content is multiple, and then we can basically outsource or move to the tipping point down to the edge, and then the cost efficiency of such a transaction will make the entire exercise pay off.
Okay, I'm interested in Megan's response, because you have a lot of very large, important hosting customers where CDN has nothing to do with the hosting. So I'd like to hear what you have to say about who should and should not be, since you're making that decision like every day, right? Or your customers are.
Right. So my mic fell off, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can't.
It sounds good, yeah.
So to mirror what Marcin has said, I think that it's about customers who have global delivery. If I'm, the San Antonio Sports League and all of my customers are here in San Antonio, CDN may not make that much sense to me, right? It's about distributing globally, and it's about making the point from, our data center in Dallas all the way to our customers in India and optimizing that internet in between. if you're not making a big hop from, let's say, Dallas to India, CDN may not be something that makes sense for you. But talking about our hosting customers and people who we're making decisions for on a customer-to-customer basis, there's a lot of things that CDN can do that don't necessarily have to do with running your website, right? So application speed and application enhancement can be used. We see a lot of people who want to make their internal SharePoint sites faster on the hosting side. I think that before today, or before cloud got into the CDN world, I think price was a big factor. If you can't afford the price of a CDN, obviously it's just hard to make a case for it. But what we're doing today on the cloud file side in cloud is we're taking just a small subset of what Akamai has to offer. So they have services that span, I think they have 40 different services. And we're taking just one, their dynamic site delivery, the one that matters the most to our customers, and making it affordable, making it cloud enabled, if you will, or relevant to cloud. So I think where price may have been a factor in the beginning, I think we're finding ways, and Rackspace is doing this, to cut that price out and make it relevant on a utility model and make it relevant to customers who just haven't been able to afford it before.
Do you have customers at Rackspace who are delivering video that is hosted at Rackspace that are not using a content delivery network?
None that I can think of off the top of my head.
So 100% of your hosting customers at Rackspace that are going to be delivering video, they will all wind up on a CDN service of some kind.
I don't know if I can confidently say 100%.
Or
but
close to it. Like, you can't think of anyone who wouldn't.
So speaking specifically about cloud, that's correct.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Please.
Let me tell you one thing. Even if I agree with the theoretical statements that you are sharing here with us, I think CDN is a matter of closeness to the end user. No matter how many times I want to enjoy a movie, if I pay for that movie, I want it to be quality of service the same way that if I could buy it in a store. So for me, CDN has the magic of bringing content in an efficient way to the user that wants to enjoy that content, no matter what kind of content it is. Of course, if it is the final match of the Tennis World Cup, many concurrent clients will want to enjoy that match, and the need of a CDN will be substantially much more relevant than in other use case. But why not offering that same service to other clients? I mean, even if it is so obvious that I don't want to talk about any ISPN will be in our top of mind use case in a CDN in the United States and globally. But why not a small content provider in Spain will want to enjoy the quality of service that a local CDN could provide to deliver the content from Madrid to Barcelona or from Dallas to Washington? I mean, we have the technology, we have the capability of moving the traditional quality of service into the internet, the new era of the video internet. Let's offer it to our clients. That is my point of view.
Excellent. So we've established what CDN is. We've established, are they building this group? Are they building? Are they buying? Are they outsourcing? So now we're going to get down to, we've got the baseline established here. We're all talking about the same thing for the same reason. So now let's get into the technical and into the whole point of this to talk about, should you outsource or not? The first question is, what is really required to build a CDN in today's market? And when I say what, I mean everything, right? I want to hear your list of what does it take to build a CDN today? What does it take to succeed with your CDN, right? What is it going to take to make it successful? What is the definition of that success, right? It's one thing to say I have the most powerful CDN in the world, but I heard Microcast say that in the year 2000. Anybody ever heard of Microcast? Right? They said we have the most powerful. They said they were the most successful. right? So what is the definition of success? What does it take to succeed? And what are some examples you can share of that success for the build? Now, some of you have outsourced, and we'll talk about that as well. So you can pass or give your thoughts on it. So what is required to build it? What does it take to succeed? What is the definition of that success? And some examples. And Martin, let's start with you.
I mean, back to our history, how we build this stuff, build the entire ecosystem. It's, I mean, the technology is not obviously that. I mean, it's a key factor, but obviously, the mental internally in telco, the mental shift from the like a bit delivery, whenever your internal team is thinking about the transit links, termination fees, paid peering, free peering, back to the content delivery itself. How the success story actually comes with the sales forces. They use sales forces from the operator in order to approach the content providers and explain new way of the billing mechanism, new way of the delivery, new way of basically ingesting the content. That's basically the success story. In order to build, I mean, today's CDNs are very complex environment, but I think one of the great examples that we prove across the Orange Group was that we build an ecosystem which is open for innovation. I mean, we don't basically buy the closest boxes. We rely on the legacy hardware, which has the virtualized architecture, and I can think about an application in 2 years' time or 1 year time that's 1 year ago was not addressable at all. For example, from the cloud space, that can be ingested as a virtual machine, not in the hosting space, 1 or 2 across Poland, but across 90% of our POPs. Basically down to the customer with 50 milliseconds of the response time, not for 150 or 500 milliseconds. That enables all kind of the technology benefit from the mobile multiplayer gaming or any kind of the web page acceleration stuff, down to the classical big delivery, which is our current business model.
So what does it take to succeed?
I mean, first of all, be open for innovation, has the open hardware and software architecture, which is the key foundation, because you never know what's going to happen in 2 years. And the closest appliances boxes are fine right now, but in my opinion, switching those boxes all over is basically not cost efficient enough to compete with over-the-top players. And the second point, you need to train internally your sales forces, your marketing forces, to basically come and grab those content providers the same way like the big over-the-top players has built over the 10 years. We are not entering the new market. We are entering the market which is already competing, I mean quite competitive, which means the key point is the sales forces, which make your success story complete.
So the definition of success then I guess would be sales, right?
Open architecture, open for innovation, and sales.
Right, but the definition of success though, like, well, how do you know you've succeeded, basically?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's how you secure your current business model. I mean, how you move from the paid peering paradigm to the CDN delivery, and how your current customers adopt the CDN architecture, and you basically increase your revenue, or you at least stop degrading the revenue from the ISP perspective, behalf of over-the-top players. That will be the success.
Okay, so Megan, you outsourced. What would it have taken for you to build a CDN? And you didn't. You outsourced it. What is it? What is the definition of success with your outsourcing relationship?
So I'm going to start with what it would have taken to build our CDN, and I'm going to mirror a lot of the things that we've already talked about. Obviously, hardware would have been a big thing for us. We have about 10 data centers around the globe as rack space today, which could easily be a small CDN network in and of itself, but when we're competing with companies like the Akamais and the Limelights of the world, Akamai, I think the latest stat is they're in 72 countries, and that's just an infrastructure that we as a hosting provider are just not ready to compete with, and we're not ready to invest in the hardware to compete with. So the network alone was a huge limiting factor for us. As far as success goes for partnerships, I think that a key thing is, which leads go to which companies, right? So who goes directly to Akamai versus who comes to get Akamai through Rackspace. And those are things that need to be worked out at a high level, and your sales force needs to be okay with those. Success at the end of the day, obviously, with any of our companies is sales, but something that our customers are looking for is speed. So we're constantly running tests against us and our competitors combined with other CDN providers, and speed is really what it comes down to. We have an audience, and our customers have an audience that's not just the US and it's not just EMEA, it's all around the globe. And so customers want to see proof that content is being served the same from India as it is from San Antonio, as it is from LA. So speed is a big one for us.
So I want to drill down a bit more here, because you're a very interesting case. Rackspace is a very successful company, profitable company. Customers love them. You have 10 data centers, you said? Is that the number you gave?
Yes.
Okay, you have 10 data centers. You get obviously a very good economy of scale in terms of hardware pricing, because you buy a lot of hardware that you offer as part of the hosting solution.
That's right.
Right? You have a lot of very good engineering. You have a lot of good talent. You have a great brand name. There are many CDNs out there that have fewer data centers, that are not profitable, that do not have the sales volume, that do not have the economy of scale for hardware purchasing. So why is it that you wouldn't simply just offer some level of solution on your own, maybe some degree of it, and then resell something beyond that? Because you're already a successful, beloved hosting company. You are an expert at managing. You have the customer support ready to go. You've got a portal that users can log into, ready to go. You have automated billing ready to go. You can bill on credit cards, right? Everything is there. So why not? Why not build some level of it that's your own and then maybe resell something that's more complex beyond that?
Right, so I think that I think you've hit the nail on the head without knowing that you have. So Rackspace is a company that that prides itself on fanatical support, and we do not allow ourselves to offer anything less. And at the end of the day, we are not CDN experts. And in order for us to become CDN experts, I mean, it would take us years to get to the level of expertise that the Akamais and the Limelights of the world are at. And we are not prepared to offer a solution that we cannot fully support, that we cannot answer every question on, and that that our sales team cannot provide, again, what we call fanatical support. So we have perfected the hosting industry, and we have perfected the cloud industry, and that's where we're going to stay, because that's where we know we can provide the most value to our customers and not get off a phone call with saying good luck. We have the answers, every answer for them today.
So it's very interesting. So it was a really hardcore strategic decision, because we'll talk about technology, but it may seem that all of the ingredients to make a CDN are already there. Deployment, hardware, support, a portal, automation, right? Operating history, profit, revenue, and everything that you need was there, but you made the decision not to. We'll ask more questions about this as we go along. Okay, so what do we think?
What do we think? Okay,
just to remind everybody on the question here, so we're not lost. Like, what did it take you to build the CDN in today's market? Right, you're a very large, massive, multinational telco. What is required to build the CDN from your view, and what does it take to succeed, to make it really succeed, and how do you define that? And the reason I say how do you define that, again, it sounds elementary, but there are CDNs that have been around for a long time that have never been profitable. Are they successful? Was it successful to get the traffic without the profit, or is it okay to be profitable but tiny, right? So that's really the question here is, we're talking about should you buy or should you build. Obviously you want to succeed. What is the definition of that success for, in the case of each of these panelists? So go ahead, Mosuri.
Let me try to order the answers to all those questions. First of all, in order to make things successful within Telefónica, we try to make them as simple as possible. We try to be focused, and the client is always on the center of the decisions that we make. So CDN is not going to be different. we plan to go to market with a really simple, clear value proposition, and we will be client-centric. If we focus in content clients, and there are some clients that need something from our side, client is key for us. We will evolve, we will innovate in order to bring our clients what they need to make their business successful. Regarding specifically today and in a market that apparently is already mature, where there are Akamai's, Limelights at level 3 of the world, how Telefonica approaches and which are our assets and our values. Well, for me, no matter how much huge data centers you have, that we also have them, the last mile is going to be key. We have 300 million final users around the world, and that is the audience that is key for the content providers. So that is something that is not replaceable, not with money, and it takes a lot of time to have that asset. We have clients with the billing, we know them, we can cross-sell, upsell to them. That is a huge value that we and other ISPs have. We are global. It's not that we get to the final user within their home and within their cell phone. It's also that we are in Brazil, and we are also in the States, and we are also in Europe. So we are global and we are capillary. And the network, in most of the cases, is our network. We own the network. We decide where and when we deploy those boxes. We don't have to ask anybody. I mean, we are in the middle of the deployment. We have already deployed 8 boxes in Spain, and by the end of the year, we will be deploying more than 30. No other content delivery network will be able to make that value proposition to the clients. And again, if any one of you want to deliver 3D or HD or whatever kind of video to any kind of device, if the provider of the delivery network cannot make sure that they guarantee that last mile, what can they offer you? In terms of how do we measure success, I mean, this is a very philosophical question, and I will give you my philosophical answer too. I mean, if I can have clients and I can make those clients become partners, and those partners become more than partners along the way, and we grow together, innovate and evolve together, that is the way Telefonica measures success. And if we are able to do that, we will be a trusty CDN operator around the world, and we will make benefits and EBITDA as the market measures success in general terms. But first of all is making sure that we have trusty relations with our B2B worldwide clients. That is the way we will measure success.
It's very interesting. These are three very different perspectives about the same thing. So now, technology and operations. What is needed from a technology, hardware, and operations staff standpoint to build one's own CDN? And again, it sounds like a very simple question. Well, of course, it's all the same stuff. But I can very easily find people at this conference that will say, hey, I need 1 network, 8 data centers, 8 network-attached storage devices, and 1 load balancer, and it's a CDN, right? Some people will tell you that. Some people will say you have to have a massive, complex ecosystem with all kinds of staff and all over the world and multiple, NOCs all over the planet. We're here to understand what people who are operating and reselling and who are deep in the CDN market have to say about, and who've just recently entered it, by the way. These aren't people who've been at it, until they're gray like I am or used to be from being in this business since the 90s. The mid-90s. So what is needed as far as technology and operations go, specifically to build a CDN? Hardware, technology, and basically IP, right? Operations staff for your specific operation. What does it take to do it? Now, I'm going to start with Megan, and my question for you to make this a little bit different is, what do you need to support a partnership with a CDN, right? You can't just throw them over the fence, right? There's got to be, you resold it. There's a relationship that has to interact with your existing platform properly. What do you need? And then we're going to go to Mosuri and then to Marcin.
That's right. So there's a lot of things that go into partnering, and the most key thing that we have found that we need is access to resources at every level of our partner's organization. And what I mean by that is we have our developers talking to Akamai's developers and our sales team talking to Akamai's sales team. And it seems like a very simple concept, but there's been times when you can get involved with partners who everything that you say has to go through your account manager, which that means when a developer is talking to an account manager who's then talking to a developer, if you guys remember the telephone game from kindergarten, a lot gets lost in translation, right? So the developer is usually, dumbing it down for the account manager, who's then trying to smart it back up for the developer on Akamai's end. So we have found that our relationship with Akamai, that has been one of the most key pieces. And our operations teams talking to their operations teams. And there has to be some level of change management too, which is huge. Every time they touch their network, that's probably going to affect what our origin offload is going to be. And all of a sudden, if our origin servers can't handle the new hit that we're going to get, we're in trouble. If there's a change that's happening on the network where there's going to be a cache flush, for example, which has happened to us before, that could take down our whole origin infrastructure because now all of these hits are coming back to us. So there's a level of technology to technology that has to be happening. When we make changes, Akamai can see the effect of that as well. So to recap, the sales piece obviously is very important, but the thing that I believe is kind of make it or break it is some sort of change management process and developer to developer relationship there, and having a company that is open enough to provide you with those sort of resources.
Shall I start?
Go ahead.
I mean, in order to basically operate the CDN, obviously the hardware and the right software architecture need to be in place. But I mean, more and more, I mean, it depends on the people and people who run the service. And basically, from my experience and from our deployment, the people who understood distributed systems are the key ones. I mean, for example, in our organization, we specifically pick the people who basically operate DNS on the daily basis, because DNS is the distributed system from the scratch. It means they understood how to run the complex distributed systems across country-size network. But it's more about that. It's about monitoring. It's about billing. And all of those systems are naturally in the hands of those telco and the cable network since 30 years. And we cannot understood why some of the over-the-top players will basically jump into our business, especially with the control of the last line. And I fully support previous statement from Telefonica. I mean, it's not about launching 2 or 3 hosting spaces somewhere in Dallas or somewhere in San Francisco area. It's not basically not enough. And the one who will control the last loop will actually win in terms of 2 or 3 years, not because of the pricing, is because it's optimizing our network in some sense. And basically, if you look at the over-the-top players or the hosting spaces, they can basically run one side of the equation, and there's nothing on their side in order to optimize the network resources itself. Because what the over-the-top players, giving the telcos is giving you the hosting space in order to optimize your uplinks, but they are not willing any kind to optimize your core network or your edge network. And if you look from the previous session and the cost statement level, international backbones are important. They are in the fraction of the small, really, 10%, 20%, 30% of the fraction. Depends on the size of the world. But there is just basically the fraction of the cost. The main cost level is in the internal core and internal edge. And once you optimize that, basically you outposted anything that is related to the over-the-top delivery, because you are controlling the edge. Obviously, the remaining question is how you scale up. I mean, in terms of the number of the users that you cover. And the Telefonica group is a great example of one thinking. Orange group is I hope, is also a good example of interconnecting CDNs across even internal, we call this internal group interconnection, where basically we operate as different entities within the same group. We have our own billing systems, but we are able to interoperate even different technologies sometimes, because we sometimes have different technology choices. But sometimes we interoperate with the same technology between France, Spain, Poland, Ivory Coast, Senegal, just name it, or international backbones, the one represented by Open Transit.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions, but I want to hear operationally, technically, what does it take?
In terms of technology, we think that having a technology aware of the network that is able to leverage on the telco assets will assure and will guarantee superior performance in the CDN, and CDN is performance. Regarding hardware, we are not starting, if we can say that way, this trip on our own. We have a partner. We are deploying HP hardware, and for us, having reliable and mainstream hardware will assure that we can not just deploy quickly, but also evolve quickly. That this evolution will be cost-effective, and that we could operate this hardware in a smooth and soft way. In terms of operation, our point of view is that we need to have people with experience in operating huge networks and also in operating content well. If I have to summarize, in terms of network, in terms of hardware, and in terms of operation, Telefonica has experience and have done this for years. So we think we have the ingredients, and we are here to succeed.
Okay, so I'm going to drill down on some questions here, and it's going to be for these two operators because they're rolling their own here. Are you a DNS load balancer based CDN? Are you using a domain name server as a load balancer for your architecture?
I am not technical. Okay. I don't know if I can pass that
no
question to somebody else in the audience.
Okay. Let me ask this. Do you know if you bought any software that makes your system runners everything written from scratch?
We have our own technology for DNS. We are not using the internet.
Okay. Okay. So you wrote all of your own. Do you know of any, besides like HP devices, do you know of any third-party intelligence or any kind of third-party technology that you bought? Or
we are partnering with some of the
okay.
Yeah,
so there is some. Okay.
Yeah, there are some. I can tell. I mean, it's public. We are using analytics from SkyTide, and we have built because as I told you, we have focus. We have focus on having the best-in-class solution for delivering video, but we are creating a whole ecosystem of partner to give into our final user many other tools that they are used to work with. So we have partners for advertising, we have partners for analytics, and we have other ingredients in our solution.
But your philosophy overall is you're focused very much on performance and on scale, and you're willing to work with partners to supply key components of that, is what I'm hearing.
That's it.
Right? Okay.
That's it.
Okay. That's what we're looking for here. So, okay, Marcin.
Could you repeat?
The question is...
Yes, question. DNS, yes.
Yeah.
The solution, as I said, I mean, the foundation of the is from the vendor, but we are open for third-party vendor, speaking by Polish Telecom.
But so like your caches, right? Did you write those, or are you acquiring them from a vendor?
As I said, we acquire from the vendor.
Okay. All right. So we have both of you guys are using partners to supply key components of technology for your CDN. Okay. Very, very good and very interesting. So you are integrating essentially to build your solution.
And operate.
As opposed to Akamai, who do not integrate anything. Everything is written from scratch by them in-house, or the vast, like 90% plus.
Their
sure? Caches, yes, I'm sure.
They not GPL based. Why do they not license then to the telcos?
Well, you can ask them.
Yeah,
but
okay,
I'm saying, just a little bit of history. I was one of the principal architects of a company called Speed Era Networks. Right? We built a CDN from the year 1999 until Akamai bought us in 2005. We had nothing that came from any other vendor. We wrote everything from scratch, and Akamai did as well. There may be some minor pieces. They acquired other companies, obviously. But so what I'm getting at here is that you're rolling your own, but part of your use case is the fact that you are integrating best-of-breed partners, and that's one of the questions. That's what we're buy or build. You're building it, but part of the reason you can build it is because you can find what you need. You can find pieces that you need that will work for what your strategic goal of success, right? Does that sound about right? You don't find that the question is here that I'm asking you is, you don't say, hey, I need to deliver, this kind of video to this user here, and you know what, the available storage and caching software just doesn't do it for me. It's not fast enough, it's not reliable enough, I'm going to write my own, right? That's not happening to you on a regular basis, right? Okay, very, very cool. That's very, very interesting. It's something that's very different now than it used to be. So,
may I reverse the question?
Please.
If then, that's out of your statement, this means basically we can expect from Akamai or from other over-the-top players that they will license the technology to the telcos someday. That's
sounds like a panel you should run.
Yeah, someday.
Next, at the next show, will major CDNs license their technology to others? So now we understand how you're building, right? You are integrating best of breed. In a way, Rackspace did the same thing by just taking a whole vendor and integrating it. So what was the strategic decision point that got you to that end game? Now, Megan, I'm going to give you a chance to add more to what you said, because you talked about your strategy before, but I'd like to go down the row. Actually, we'll start on this side with Mosari. Tell us about this, what is the strategic decision point for you, and what would it be for others to, that helped you determine whether you were going to integrate it yourself, or did you approach another CDN? You could have gone to a CDN and said, hey, I want you to do an advanced deployment on our network that's just for us, what we used to call an on-net CDN. I don't know if anybody uses that term anymore, the on-net CDN. Did you approach someone else? Did you decide from the get-go, okay, we're going to build this ourselves? And what is the strategic decision point that gets you to that? Gets you to that? And let's go straight down the row.
Today we are here, but processes, as you can imagine, as you all can imagine, take time and sometimes years. So we've been analyzing our CDN approach around Telefonica for more than 3 years. And we've compared our solution. How do we take and make up our mind comparing, and we compare the efficiency of our own solution, the core solution of the CDN has been created and deployed by people who run networks for ages and who know how an ISP behaves. Why? Because we knew that the ecosystem was going to change. I mean, you have started the meeting saying video has absolutely changed the world, and things that we didn't know were going to happen, or we might thought that were going to happen, are happening faster than we thought. So Telefonica suspected that video was going to be flowing through our networks heavily. And we had an issue internally because we needed to make sure that our final users will get that content in the better way. And the quality of service was going to be the best possible without damaging our P&L. That is why, in a natural way, Telefonica had to do something. And 1 year ago, we compared our in-house solution with a couple of market solutions that we all know. And under stress and through quantity and quantitative KPIs analysis, we made up our minds. Our own solution deliver content in our own network in a better way. And it was a hard decision because we are a huge company, and sometimes we know that deploying internal services is not easy, but we think it is the right thing to do. We have something that not everybody can have today.
So it's very interesting. I'll ask a question.
Yep.
You said our own solution can deliver content on our own network as well as the third parties that we tested, right?
No, much better.
Or much better. Okay.
Much better.
Okay.
I mean,
as well as or much better. Great.
I mean, the key point here is that we compare solutions that, of course, they are great, and as a matter of fact, we resell some of those solutions today, and they do value-added services much better than we will do. But they were not created to deliver this huge amount of video that we have to deliver today. And at the end of the day, all the content has to flow through the ISP access network.
Right. So here's the question though. What about and you mentioned now that you still resell other CDN solutions. Okay, so you sort of have a dual approach here, which is if it's on our network, we recommend you use ours. If you want to have a relationship where it's a strategic relationship where we're going to help you get around the world using another solution, but for within our network to our 300 million users, you're going to use ours, and you're sort of combining the two, right?
We are combining the two mainly, as Megan said, for the value-added services, application acceleration, for example, that is not the focus of our solution today.
Right. So you didn't build it all yourself. You built some yourself. You've integrated, you've outsourced and you've insourced. You have some of both. Right?
Well, let me clarify. No. Let me clarify.
Okay.
We've been reselling CDN for many years.
Right.
And we will keep on reselling CDN of some of our partners for some more years because they have some value-added services that we don't have today. And that is focused on just a territory.
Right.
But Telefónica global strategy is deploying and selling our own solution focused on video delivery.
Right. Just video. Okay.
Just to clarify.
But if you have one client, if you have a client that's doing video and website, right? You're going to resell someone else for website.
We also do web caching.
Right. Okay. So this is getting confusing now,
application acceleration.
Okay.
That is the example.
Okay. Are you ever going to tackle app acceleration on your own?
Maybe in the future.
You might. Okay. Okay. All right. Down the road. So,
I mean, differently from Telefónica.
So this is just to remind everybody, we're at the strategic decision point. What is for you and what should be for others, right? To determine whether you outsource or insource, because you're insourcing as well. Go ahead.
I mean, differently from the Telefónica, we agreed internally first at the Polish telecom level, then at the Orange Group level. That's we basically take best-in-class vendor through the sourcing process. I mean, first of all, because of the cost-effective in terms of the money spent internally in order to develop those applications. Takes years, to be honest. And it's even more important from the operation perspective. I mean, if you think about how this CDN's market is fastly evolving, I mean, I cannot imagine, our forces, internal forces, focusing on those in enough speed, I would say, in order to catch the market at the right price point. I mean, both from the cost-effective perspective and from the operational perspective, we do believe that the way we did it, basically controlling the boxes inside the hardware infrastructure from the scratch and integrating the vendor's technology on the top of those, we are able. We can provide a reliable service to our customers. I mean, yeah, that's basically how the decision points were made.
Okay, and what about for others? Like, what should the strategic decision point be, right, for someone else?
I mean, if you are not, if you are operating with within the big, like Orange Group, and you are one of those telcos within the family of the Orange Group, I mean, we have the internal process, the sourcing process for whole group that will define the ways and the number of vendors, because we don't select one due to strategic perspective, in order to allow them the choice. But I'm pretty sure that there is no, I mean, in the real ISP environment right now, no one is thinking about, you know, deploying anything from scratch those days.
No one's thinking about deploying anything from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, if you like to, if you are like 10 million user telco, I mean, why to start from scratch? I mean, I cannot convince myself to do it.
Interesting. So, Megan, you want to add onto the, you know, what should, you know, you have a client, a big client, right? Let's say they're a big hosting client of yours, and they're thinking about CDN, and they think, well, you know, I could build this, right? I could build this, right? What's the decision point for building it or not?
So I think it's about why do you want to build it? Are you building this to be competitive?
For the reasons that they said. They just gave a long list of reasons of why they want to build, right? So do you? I think a lot of it is, do you have time to build it? Is that going to affect where you are in the market and how competitive you're going to be? Do you have the money to build it, and are you smart enough to build it, and are your people smart enough to support it and sell it? And do you have the time to train them on how to get that smart? Okay, so we actually do have another minute or two here, Dan told me. So I want to go down and ask, what are some success stories of building the CDN? If it's your own and you feel it's successful, or others that you know about, and I want to hear some failures, right? And if you're too afraid to talk about failures, I'm going to talk about it. So let's hear success stories. Like, have you met your goals? Is it working? Is it rocking? Is it a success, right? And then if there's any failures or things that you think that really didn't work, and you just, you know, you decided to do something different, I'd like to hear about that. Actually, Megan, let's start on your side. Any classic case CDN success stories for the build or buy decision, and any failures?
Yeah, so we've been very successful. As I mentioned earlier this morning, more than 50% of our users are taking advantage of the CDN today. We haven't found any major qualms with offering just a subset of Akamai services through the cloud. And I think that unfortunately a big failure for us is previously we had some miscommunication about a year or so ago where we did experience a cache flush. It did take down our origin servers, and our users had to be down for a little bit, and that's something that you have to work with. If there's a layer of translation that one company isn't understanding the other and what the implications of a certain change can be, you can be in a real pickle.
Go ahead. I mean, the success story, I mean, just from the facts, we launched our service more than 1 year ago, and in that time, the Akamai was not present in Poland at all on the real commercial basis, and only some university points. And now Akamai is entering the Warsaw and Poland. That means the market is there, and we're gonna challenge them, I hope. In terms of the failures, I mean, some people believe that RTSP is still something that's gonna fly, and some people spend some effort on this, and we know right now, we convince ourselves that HTTP is the major and adaptive streaming is the issue that you're supposed to focus on. Adaptive streaming lets telcos and lets the player automatically puts the right bit rate that allows smooth delivery, even we hit some of the limitations within the link. And that means that it was not available in RTSP delivery previously under the well-known protocols. That is basically flying right now pretty successfully.
Okay.
Okay. Regarding failures, I mean, we all know that there are some other ISPs that, as we are doing, deploy their own CDN and they failed. That has been a challenge internally in order to convince our top management to walk in the same path and demonstrate them that we won't fail. They are also big. They had the time, they have the money, and they are really smart. So if they failed, why we shouldn't? But well, we are here. We have already the solution launched 3 months ago in Spain, and we have clients on the top of the solution. We are ready to pilot with any kind of client from Latin America to the United States and Europe. And it is too soon for us to say if we are going to succeed or fail. It would be ridiculous if I would be telling you we are succeeding. We are working. We made this bet, and we are not here to fail. Let's see if next year I come here and I can share with you a 12-month success story about Telefónica CDN.
Then you get to moderate.
Well,
successful.
whatever.
Okay. So I'm going to just tell a quick failure story, then we'll go to some questions, and then it's lunchtime. So in the year 2003, I made a list called the CDN graveyard of 25 CDNs that had failed by 2003. They were a mix of telcos and pure plays, and they failed for all kinds of reasons. Mostly, I think that the reason they failed has been very clearly explained by the very wise panelists here, which is that they didn't really focus on performance. And they focused on everything but performance. They focused on doing an IPO, or they focused on being a company and launching, but they didn't focus on performance. And everybody here has mentioned that performance is the #1 driver. And you've added also openness, and the fact that you're integrating solutions or completely outsourcing is very, very interesting. But I think that you've all actually outsourced a little bit to some extent. If you're integrating devices from someone else, that is, to me, a form of outsource. You didn't write the cache yourself, or you didn't make the DNS load balancer yourself.
Your statement will be
Right?
true if you outsource software components.
Right. I'm just saying that to some extent, but but in the case of both of you, you're operating the CDN yourself. So you have insourced its operation, and this is, I think, given some very, very good insight. Do we have any questions in the room? Questions, or is everybody too hungry by now? I got a hungry bunch. Well, I'd like to thank our panelists. Oh, is there one over here? I'm sorry, but my blind spot of the lectern. Right, so the question is, what about someone like Google who's not using a CDN, who's a very large content person? I would actually just double check that you're sure that Google aren't using CDNs before you ask that, right? No, but we'll assume that they aren't, and we'll. Okay, so the question is,
There is not a public offer from Google offering CDN.
There's not a public offer. Okay, so I think you guys all heard it. So what about the big guys who are massive, and their CDN strategies?
I cannot precisely comment on one of the big guys, but just from the standpoint perspective, I mean, previously the telco offered transit links, right? Either by themselves or by the peering points, and basically you cannot treat your customers as a hostages because you are running the network, right? I mean, we try to build the competitive offer right now. I mean, to have the choice for the content providers, including the big guys, that we basically can go out of the transit links down to something different. And then, obviously, the financial talks will happen. But we both are building alternative offer to the transit. And this will happen sooner or later, that transit links at current prices will be not upgraded anymore. And then there's no other choice like moving to telco CDNs, because basically the capacity will be nowhere in the transit links, full stop. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we know from the public sources that some of those big guys building not only CDNs themselves, but they're building the networks. And that's basically the transition point when the big software company is starting to run the cables, which obviously they can do. No question asked.
Right. So the question is, from the service provider standpoint, what is how important is the ability to offload traffic from your network via caching, right? So you got two service providers here. They should speak up. Mostly, why don't you answer?
I mean, as I said.
Okay. I was going to say, go ahead.
I mean, as I said previously, I mean, the transit links are the fraction of the costs. That was mentioned by Cisco on the previous panel. You can come back to that. More important is to offline internal core network and edge network delivery, where the costs are. And basically, I cannot find any of those over-the-top players which offers offloading the traffic to my 90% of the POPs for two reasons. Basically, they have no technological way to do it within one autonomous system. Basically, they are topology blind. And another one, which is even more important, because this one we can solve via the BGP or somehow. But there's not enough place for all of those over-the-top players at my edge of the network. That's basically true. I mean, I have no hosting space, enough hosting space, and I will be not. And also the power and the space is not there. It's a space on one or two, not 10 of them, or even hundreds of them. That's why, I mean, basically co-locating those CDN gifts from someone to my hosting places is not an option. Maybe it's option, you know, for like the whole country delivery, but it's not on the edge, and will be never be on the edge. And you know, knowing ambitions of some of those telcos or cables, I mean, there's ambition to control the traffic flow, the bits flow, which basically implies the control of the money flow, then, with the termination fee or with the content period agreements.
Okay, we're definitely out of time, but I want to thank everybody and thank our great panelists here. Some good insight on a controversial topic.